Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Got a lot of people in the chat already. Farzad, Jeff Stenberg, Rick Funkin, and Ron Moore, Steve Folkerts. Thanks for being in here. Hit the like button. Let's see if we like the recap screen. How did we do yesterday? 5-2. Buckets goes 2-0. Tom Casale hits Virginia Tech plus 8.5 pretty easily. Certainly could have won that game outright. Michigan minus 2.5 rolls, and Michigan State from Chip Patterson minus 8.5. That one hits as well. We will take 5-2 every single time. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll take this cast on a Wednesday every single time. We've got a lot to talk about. We clearly have a lot of soccer to talk about with Martin Green and with John Buckets Eimer. We got Jeff Hochman. We got Mike McClure. And we got a situation because I don't know where to start. Martin, we don't see you quite as much, so I'm going to start with you. How you doing? And can you set up what seems to be a big soccer day?
I'm doing great, thanks, Sia. Always a pleasure to be on the show. Yeah, it's the playoffs for the Champions League. The 8 teams are going to go through to the round of 16, and the other 8 are going to be eliminated. So we have 4 games today, lots of exciting matchups. I've got picks on all of them over on Sportsline, but I'm going to give a couple out on this show.
All right, Jeff Hochman, what do we have from you today? I know NHL is on a break. Are we going to college basketball?
College basketball again, Sia. Yes, thanks. I'm good to be here. I'm very excited. A week from today, Survivor 50 returns to CBS, one of my favorite shows of all time. And we get the NHL returning on Wednesday. So very excited to be back handicapping real hockey games.
Buckets, you see how he threw that in your face? I mean, because if I recall, it was not even a year ago that you submitted your video to be on Survivor, and here Jeff Hochman is celebrating it without you being on the show. I feel like that was a little bit of a dig.
Maybe a dig, but probably a blessing in disguise. The more I watch, because I watched old seasons of Survivor to prepare in case I got on, I'd be dead within 12 hours. I mean, not even close. So it might be a good thing they never responded to me.
My favorite competition reality show, the only one I still watch, is The Challenge, the MTV Challenge, which I believe now is on Paramount Plus. I think they picked that up, but I never was a Survivor guy. Mike, do you think you ever consider Survivor? And if so, how many days would you last?
I would absolutely consider it. As far as how many days I would last, I think I would last like 2/3 of the way there. I think I can offer enough in the way of strategically offering advice and thinking to the point where someone would want to keep me around just long enough.
Yes.
So yeah, I think I would last maybe 2/3 of the way through. Am I a threat to win it? I look, I always say that if you're not seen as a little delusional, you're not trying hard enough in life. Having said that, I have no shot at actually winning the Survivor.
I don't know about that. I kind of like your analysis on the front end where people want to keep you around. Put in the chat who you think among this cast, and we can include Ben on this as well. Of the 6 of us, who would last the longest on Survivor? It's me, it's Ben, it's Martin, it's Buckets, Jeff Hochman, or Mike McClure. Who lasts the longest on Survivor? You can feel free to put why if you want. We got to get to some picks. And Buckets, you're going to kick us off with the pitch. You've got 2 picks. What are they?
Before I get into the 2 picks, I just want to accuse Martin Green of something, if that's okay with everyone, for stealing my best bet for the entire slate. He's going to talk about Carabag Newcastle, and he's going to use a bet that I kind of think is mine, but just I had to get ahead of that since I'm going first.
Right.
First bet is in Serie A this afternoon. I'm looking at Scudetto hopefuls AC Milan hosting Como, Cesc Fabregas's ultra team that has done incredible all season long. And I disagree with the books here that there won't be goals in this game, because right now over 2.5 is plus 120, and both teams to score is hovering around minus 115. That's going to be my best bet. I absolutely love what both of these teams are doing. AC Milan have no other competitions to worry about. They're not in Champions League. They don't have other stuff they've got to focus on. It is just winning Serie A, and they are pressing forward and looking pretty damn good while they are doing it. They only have 1 loss out of 24 games, and they are constantly putting on good performances at home. Como is kind of the stars of Serie A right now. This is a team that no one thought would really do that well. They're currently 7th on the table, and they are consistently putting in good results against the giants of Serie A. Nico Paz, while he's not doing the best on penalties, has done well on everything else, and this is the kind of game where I think we're going to see 2, 3, 4, 5 goals. I think a 2-2 draw here wouldn't shock anyone, so I love the fact that we're getting both teams to score at playable odds. Then we've got Karabag taking on Newcastle in Champions League. Not both teams to score. I'll save that for Martin, but I'm going for a bit of a I don't want to say long shot, but a heavier play here with Karabag to score in the first half at plus 170. Karabag have played 4 Champions League home match group stage matches this season. Not only did they score in all 4 of those, they scored 2+ goals in all 4 of those, and they scored in the first half in all 4 of those, including scoring against teams like Chelsea already in this competition. Newcastle is dreadful on the road. Newcastle also knows that in the second leg, they can dominate, put up 3, 4, 5, whatever they need to do back home in England. But I love Karabag to keep this one tricky in the first leg.
All right, we got a couple of soccer picks. We got a little bit of a soccer controversy with Martin Green. Martin, before you give out your picks, do you care to respond?
Yeah, my rebuttal is that this is absolutely my pick. I submitted it in an article on Monday, and I'm claiming
timestamps.
I mean, come on.
We're
Really going to get caught up in timestamps, Martin? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
That's totally fair. All right. By the way, if you have questions in the chat regarding any of this, soccer, college basketball, golf, there's some PGA commentary in here already. And Buckets, you do realize you've got to pick your one and done for the Splash Sports contest probably during the show, right?
Oh, yes, so, I've got the dice with me. I'm ready to go.
All right. So we'll get to that in a little bit. In fact, Mike, why don't you give out your college basketball pick, and then maybe Buckets and Mike, we can set up the dice roll and who you got picked here. But Mike, your official pick for the show is an under Kansas, Oklahoma State.
Yes, Kansas, Oklahoma State, headed back to the Big 12. I went under in this game tonight. Look, this number is pretty big at 156.5. It's boosted up a little bit by the pace that Oklahoma State plays with, and then just the general efficiency on the side of the Kansas Jayhawks. However, I think that Kansas has the ability, despite the road matchup, to dictate pace here. And what Kansas likes to do is they look for opportunities in transition, absolutely, but they also want to force the opponent, particularly, into half-court offensive sets. I think they've got the skill set to do it. I've been very impressed with this Kansas team over the last month of the season. They obviously have future number 1 pick, Darren Peterson, on the team, but his availability that kind of wavers all the time has really forced this team to grow and get better, playing long stretches and or games without him. So when I look at this particular spot, Oklahoma State, we thought this team could have been a tournament team. And while they still can, it's unlikely. The only path for them is a win tonight at home against Kansas. When I look at the way these games play, typically when you get to this point of the season, talking midweek road game in February, that's where I expect a team like Kansas to kind of pull back a bit and play more half-court offensive sets, and just the value of the possessions become a little more. So to me, I made the number 153. That was just not touching anything, but really adjusting things where I think they should be for conference play. I would put this one closer to 149. So I think we kind of get to the mid-70s. But this is all out last-ditch effort on the side of Oklahoma State. If they want to play in the tournament, they must win this game. I think that leads to a little more competitive environment, and under here in conference play, going under 156.5.
All right, we got the under 156.5, Kansas, Oklahoma State. Now, Mike, people are always asking you about one and done, about PGA, DFS, and things of that nature. Let's get a couple of things out of the way here. But by the way, you weren't on the show yesterday. I did give out Matt Fitzpatrick top 20. I know you talked about him 2 days ago at plus 104, including ties. So I'm guessing you kind of lean that way. But as far as one and done is concerned, before Buckets rolls the dice, have you selected any of your one and dones for any of the contests you're in? And on the early wedge, mine was Rory McIlroy, by the way. I thought Matt Fitzpatrick was kind of sneaky as well. Mike, what do you like in one and done?
Yeah, I like both of those picks, to be honest with you. I'm going to have a little Rory outright, Fitzpatrick a little bit more in one and done. I like Cantlay again. I know we've talked about him a little bit. I can't quit Patrick Cantlay, particularly on the West Coast in these spots. So those are guys I'm looking at currently right now. But as you know, I'm not locking anything in until I see what the dice says. So I'm going to wait to fully lock everything in. But yes, the 3 guys that I like near the top that I think have measurable win equity, Rory, number 1. I think I have tremendous value on Rory this week. And then Fitzpatrick and Cantlay.
Buckets, are you ready to roll the dice?
I'm ready to roll the dice. And real quick, in case you don't know how this works, I roll a 20-sided die, and then whatever the number is, if it's 8, I count down to the 8th most likely person to place. So like the bigger the roll, probably the worse the player is or the least likely they are to compete. So we want a low number on this. I'm rolling as we speak. We got a 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. H. English.
Harris English. It's not bad.
Interesting. Contrarian, very contrarian play.
Okay. That's a nice way of saying it's a bad pick.
A lot of people like him this week, not necessarily to win, but he's
Buckets, that's the beauty of your system here is when you're limiting it to the top 20 and we're still this early in the season, it's hard to have a truly awful golfer be selected with your system, right? And it's almost guaranteed to be contrarian. So I don't think it's bad at all.
Nice. All right. We're going with H. English then.
Well, we got more golf to get to. I've got my golf pick to give out. And Jeff Hochman, I kind of want to get a pseudo weather report from you. I know you were acknowledging some rain out where you are. And I know people in the chat are talking about wet conditions, particularly on day one, but just in general with soft conditions and how that might affect the course. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But speaking of golf, I do want to remind you about the stake back promotion courtesy of BetMGM. BetMGM players will be eligible to receive their stake back in cash as a second chance refund on any pre-tournament straight or golf tournament winner wagers on Mondays through Wednesdays. This means if the player you bet on does not win the tournament but does finish in second, you get your money back. This promotion will be available pre-tournament for all applicable golf events on Monday through Wednesdays throughout the golf season, only at BetMGM. You got to love that. There was also somebody in the chat who said, hey, I kind of love Arkansas plus 4.5. Well, good news. So does Chip Patterson. Chip Patterson hit his pick easily yesterday, his Sportsline pick that we brought onto the show. He also likes Arkansas plus 4.5 at minus 110. So that is our Sportsline pick. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot more picks to get to, and we got a lot of your questions to get to right after this message from our partners.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema. The new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Jeff Hochman, you promised us some college basketball today. What is it?
Yes, thank you, Sia. I'm going with St. John's minus 9.5 here. Look, they hold several key advantages in this matchup, including D1 experience, but rebounding is the true difference maker in this particular matchup. Rick Pitino's squad ranks among the nation's elite in offensive rebounding, recovering over 37% of their missed shots. Marquette sits near the bottom in Big East defensive rebounding. We just saw this matchup a month ago. St. John's dominated Marquette 92-68, fueled by a huge advantage in second chance points. I don't think anything has changed in over a month since they last played. St. John's is more likely to recover their own miss than Marquette is likely to secure a rebound. That is crazy to me. I think this advantage creates extra scoring opportunities for the Red Storm. That should propel them, to cover the spread again. My model has it at Johnny minus 12.5. So I like St. John's tonight, minus 9.5.
All right, we got St. John's minus 9.5. Some people can find that at minus 9, says Believe. Mike, there were people asking about that Arkansas-Alabama game and which side, whether you were on Chip's side or, frankly, whether you were on a total leaning under, for example. What do you like in that one?
Yeah, this one's the only way I could look would be Arkansas and the under. I'm showing edge on both sides on that one. The issue that I get into in a game like this is it's difficult to model some of the outlier teams. And that's certainly this matchup here. I'm going to try and pull it up. And it's mostly because of Alabama. They play at just such an insane pace, and they have so much variance because of the way they shoot the three. But yes, I actually – so when I put my model out a little behind the scenes there, if my model diverges too far from the market, I throw the game out and I just ignore it and don't bet it. So I've basically – a lot of my games are very tight to market within a point, 0.2 points. There are occasions with teams like Bama that it just kind of breaks it. And if I'm more than my threshold is 7.5 points. If I'm more than 7.5 points different than the market, I don't bet into that and just assume that I'm right. I throw it out. and just accept that the market is efficient, particularly at this point in the season. So that's what's happened with this game. If you want to trust it blindly, it actually has Arkansas winning outright and the game going under. But again, it's something where I personally have learned to just kind of throw it out, accept that the market is efficient, and kind of move on. So we'll admit this game has kind of broken the model a little bit.
All right. We got some NASCAR questions and some tennis questions for you in the chat, Mike. I don't know if you've seen any of those. We'll get back to some questions in a little bit. Martin, I got to get to your 2 picks. However, let me just give out my golf pick first. Now, I gave out a variation of this golf pick yesterday on the early wedge. Again, I strongly encourage people to listen to the early wedge from last night. It was a really fun and informative show. I gave out on that show a round 1 3-ball matchup with Wyndham Clark minus 134 over Marco Penge. And then the chat jumped in and said, hey, what do you think about the 3-ball at plus 122 or plus 125 where most markets have it? And I kind of like that as well. And that's going to be more accessible to everyone. So that's going to be my pick for the show. Just know that I'm betting this, but I'm also I'm isolating Marco Penge against Wyndham Clark. So I like the Wyndham Clark minus 134 in the 3-ball matchup section. But I do like this 3-ball because when you add Brian Campbell in, the literal shortest hitter on the course with these wet conditions that we alluded to, I just don't think Brian Campbell's going to compete. And frankly, he hasn't been very good. I mean, we know he's short off the tee, but he hasn't really been good anywhere else in most of 2026. Wyndham Clark is very erratic. But we do know that the putter can really come around, and we do know the approach play has started to come around as well. Those are going to be critically important at Riviera. So I like Wyndham Clark with the ball striking in general. I don't think the off-the-tee waywardness is really going to get in the way too much because the rough's not super penal. Marco Penge, the guy I'm really isolating, the guy I'm really fading here, is also pretty good off the tee, but he has been disturbingly bad everywhere else. Approach, around the green, and with the putter. So there is a big advantage, in my opinion, with Wyndham Clark over Marco Penge. And when you add Brian Campbell in, who really just doesn't have the firepower of these other 2 guys, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. So I don't mind turning that minus 134 into a plus 125 3-ball. Wyndham Clark over Marco Penge and Brian Campbell. If you listen to the early wedge, you'll know that Wyndham Clark is one of my first round leaders as well. I had 3 out there. Go check out the show for the rest of the info there. Let's turn to soccer, and then we're going to turn to your questions. Martin Green, got a couple of picks for us.
I do indeed. Thank you, Sia. I'll start with the pick that Buckets previewed earlier. It is both teams to score in the Qarabağ versus Newcastle game. It's an interesting one because it was minus 111 when I gave it out on Monday. Then it had gone into minus 120 yesterday. Best price I could get today was minus 125, and it's only going in one direction. I think John mentioned that it's minus 140 at BetMGM now. So if you like it, I'd say get on it sooner rather than later. I'll give you my reasoning as to why I went for it. Both teams to score has paid off in Newcastle's last 6 games. They look very dangerous in attack. They're coming off an impressive 3-1 victory over Aston Villa. Meanwhile, Qarabağ conceded 21 goals in 8 games during the Champions League group stage. So it's hard to see them shutting out this Newcastle team. On the other side, Newcastle's defence has also been brittle in recent weeks. They haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 7 matches. Got a lot of injury problems right now. Bruno Guimaraes is injured. He's their midfield general who really protects that defence. He's out just all over the place in defence right now. So it's going to be difficult for them to stop Qarabağ from scoring. Qarabağ should cause issues for Newcastle in this game. So it all points to both teams to score for me. Like that one a lot. I think we see quite a lot of goals across the board today. That Bodo Glimt versus Inter game looks like a high-scoring one too. But for my other pick, I'm going to Greece, where Bayer Leverkusen are playing Olympiacos. Olympiacos beat Bayer Leverkusen 2-0 in the group stage just last month. So it's easy to see why they're the favourites for this game. They have home advantage. However, their recent results haven't been great. They lost 1-0 to Panathinaikos at home a week ago on February the 8th, and they could only draw 0-0 with 10-man Levadiakos. Sorry, that one's a bit of a mouthful. 0-0 with them on Saturday. Meanwhile, Bayer Leverkusen have been in excellent form lately. Since losing to Olympiacos, they've picked up 5 wins and a draw in 6 games. They warmed up for this one by thrashing St. Pauli 4-0 at the weekend. So those Bayer Leverkusen players should be full of confidence. I know they're on the road, but they'll have revenge on their minds. And I think they have enough quality to get a result in this game. So I'm going for Bayer Leverkusen, draw no bet at +110.
Martin and Buckets, do either of you ever low? Buckets, is everything okay?
He just sounds so much better than me.
I mean,
It's just
not
that
gonna lie.
I always forget. We won't do a show for 2 weeks, and it comes back, and I'm like, oh yeah. What were you saying, Sia? Sorry.
Well, maybe this is just better for Martin rather than Buckets, but I was going to ask if either of you like to look at the corner kick market, because Joe D. Dollar says Newcastle over 6.5 team total corners is +150. Any commentary to that market or this bet?
I do find corners quite a difficult market to bet on. That does look quite an interesting one because Newcastle do play down the flanks quite a lot. They'll probably have Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon on either wing. So if you see those two in the team and it does get stretched, yeah, I could see them exceeding that 6.5 total corner line, but +150, I guess that shows you why it's a bit of a long shot. Maybe if you could look at over 5.5 to be a bit safer. Not really a market that I normally play around with. Not sure about you, Buckets. What do you think?
Corner markets are tough for me because the game state and the game flow dictate how many corners you're going to see. If Newcastle go up 1-0, 2-0 early in this, then they don't have to keep pressing. They don't have to keep. So you're almost relying on Carabag, which I think they will do, but to do something early, 5.5 corners for them is -120 if you want a bit of a quote-unquote safer line, but something that I generally stay off of.
Jeff, did you look at USA Canada? Because there's a lot of Moshe is in the chat. Steve Folkerts is in the chat. They're talking about picks for, like, Steve Folkerts has the under. I know Moshe had said something about an under as well. I'll go check it out. But any thoughts on that NHL? Any thoughts on that hockey matchup?
USA is playing Sweden, I believe.
Okay.
Canada. I like the under. I do like the under 6.5. Sweden played yesterday, and they have to make it a defensive battle because USA, their offense is just ridiculous. But Sweden does have a very good defense. I would lean under 6.5 later today.
I'm realizing what they were doing in the chat was basically pairing the Canada 60-minute money line plus USA money line. Those were some of the bets. So I confused that as them playing each other. Mike, did you see the tennis question in the chat?
I did, and admittedly, I am not clued in on tennis tournaments this week. I wish that I was, but just no capacity for it with everything going on. So I have not grinding individual tennis tournaments right now this week.
All right, let's get to another soccer question. And I might be pronouncing this one wrong as well. Thomas Mickles says, Ezzy to score or assist, -115 today? Easy, Ezzy?
That's a Martin question.
Martin?
Oh, yeah, that does look like a pretty good option. I would wait to see the starting 11 because Ez doesn't always get in the Arsenal team. He's often on the bench, but he does play. So if you bet on him to score at any time and he only comes on for the final 5 minutes, your bet is still live and you'll lose your money if he doesn't score in those 5 minutes. If he's starting, it does look like a pretty good option because Martin Ødegaard is injured and Kai Havertz is injured as well. So he could take on that number 10 role. He played a slightly deeper position in the FA Cup against Wigan at the weekend with Saka in the number 10. So he was more of a playmaker than a goal scorer in that one. It does look decent, but he probably wouldn't be my first choice in the Arsenal team to get on the score sheet. I'd probably be looking more at Gyökeres or potentially Saka if he starts.
So I had said Easy or Ezzy, and it turns out none of those were right because it's Ez. Okay. Arsenal, that is your squad, right? Martin, Arsenal -1.5 versus Wolves -135, asks Jay Long.
I really hope so. Arsenal were pretty poor against Wolves at home. It only finished 2-1. They scored a winner in the very last minute of the game. I mean, they're vastly superior to Wolves. Arsenal are top of the league. Wolves are bottom. They're having a historically bad season. But Arsenal are just the mentality's gone a little bit. They're starting to choke and they're dropping points. So it could go one or two ways. Arsenal could go out and beat them 4-0, 5-0, or it could be one of those horrible tight games that sort of goes right down to the wire and they either draw or scrape a narrow win. So at -135, I'd want to see a bit better value on that. Maybe Arsenal to win an under 4.5 goals in the game. I'm not sure what the odds on that are, but that could be a good way of playing it. But yeah, guns ahead, I say Arsenal could cover that minus 1.5 spread.
Let's do one more soccer question, and I'll give this to you, Martin, first, and then Buckets. Do we like Grimsby team total over 1.5 plus 105?
Ooh, you got me there. I have to. I don't actually know who Grimsby are playing.
They're playing Walsall today.
Yeah, I think they should. They should be better than Walsall. Yeah, not huge lean for me, but I'd be edging towards Grimsby to score at least twice against Walsall. Yeah.
Did I miss any other? Did you give your opinion on that one, Buckets?
I like it. Walsall's been really bad. No wins in their last 5, and Grimsby's always a good attacking side. The only other question you missed was Newcastle moneyline and under 4.5 parlay together. I wouldn't take that, but I personally don't know if Newcastle's going to win, and I don't know if that under's going to hit. I think this is one of those games where it could go a bit off the rails like Carabao games frequently do. Martin might have a different take, but that's not something I would take.
All right. Jeff, was there anything you saw in the chat that we missed, whether it was college basketball, hockey, or anything else related?
Well, Matt said it figures Jeff would like that stupid show. I guess he's talking about Survivor. What did I do to deserve that? I think I come to this show with a lot of winners, give out some good advice. Wow.
That was pretty mean-spirited for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if Michigan lost yesterday, yeah, you can bash me, but come on, I'm coming off a win here.
Oh, that's good stuff. Ryan's Fingers, Fleetwood plus Cantlay top 20 parlay plus 220. Mike, I'm not really asking you to endorse the parlay. These might be bets you don't do, but Fleetwood or Cantlay, are you endorsing either of those golfers in any markets this week, as far as you know?
Yeah, definitely like both of them. Fleetwood just on overall skill set and talent. I mean, he's just maybe the 3rd best golfer in the world right now.
Yeah.
Cantlay, yes, on just course fit, conditions, everything. So yeah, not necessarily looking to parlay them top 20. Haven't run the math on that particularly, but we'll have some exposure to both, and definitely will have exposure to Cantlay in one and done. And then one other comment for Buckets in the golf world. I don't think English is going to be super popular in one and done. He is going to be the most popular player in DFS this week, which tells you a lot of people. I mean, it's obviously a different game, price points, but Harris English, a lot of people will be invested. So once again, I like your pick. I think you're going to definitely finish in the top half of the field and in your one and done.
My only goal is to beat Sia. If that happens, I'm through the roof. So that's what we're going for.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. Don't forget to put in your Splash Sports one and done pick this week. Obviously, they ask you to pick an alternate as well, which I think you're fine even if you don't pick the alternate. But go ahead and make those picks every week. This is going to be really fun, especially after these next couple of tournaments. This is a big tournament with a huge purse. So we're going to see a lot of stuff change over the next week in terms of the standings. And who knows? Buckets may be way ahead of me by Sunday night, which will be slightly embarrassing, but actually won't be altogether surprising. Mike, any final thoughts there?
No final thoughts. Enjoy everything today, and I will be back tomorrow with a first round score sweat for us.
Let's go. Absolutely love to see that. Our Thursday show is going to be great. Already know that. All right, let's get to the recap screen and get everybody out of here. Wyndham Clark plus 125 over Marco Penge, Brian Campbell. Of course, this tournament starts tomorrow, and honestly, this 3-ball is one of the last ones to go out. So you have plenty of time to get this one in. If this number changes, it'll probably change in a direction you don't want it to change, because I think Wyndham Clark, especially in this 3-ball matchup, will get a little bit of steam, but the number's not going to change too much. Clark, again, over Penge and Campbell. AC Milan versus Como, both teams to score minus 115. That one from Buckets. And Karabag versus Newcastle. Karabag to score in the first half, plus 170. St. John's minus 9.5, minus 110. That one courtesy of Jeff Hochman. Mike McClure likes Kansas, Oklahoma State under 156.5 at minus 110. Then we go to Martin Green. Karabag versus Newcastle. Both teams to score minus 125. And Bayer Leverkusen draw no bet at plus 110. Let's go to our sports line pick. Chip Patterson trying to go 2 for 2. Arkansas plus 4.5, minus 110. And if you listen to the whole show, Mike McClure gave his thoughts on that game and that game total potentially under, just a lean. And that is going to be a game that is, listen, there's a lot of good, Mike, there's a lot of good college basketball games today, right? Like this is a pretty good slate, right?
Yeah, definitely a few good games. We haven't talked about a big one in the Big 12, BYU, Arizona, I believe. It's a great time for college basketball, closing in, 3-ish weeks away from conference tournaments. So do or die situations for a lot of teams in terms of making the tournament right now.
Jeff, you want to give a take on BYU, Arizona? What is it, like 12.5?
Yeah, I thought the line was a little too high. My model had it at Arizona minus 9.5. So I would lean to BYU, actually.
All right. Let's see. Kenji Official says who's your outright in golf tomorrow? I have 3 outrights. They're both on the shorter end, and they're all 3 of them are in the shorter end, and they're all in without Scotty Market. Rory McIlroy, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Cameron Young. Those are the 3 golfers I'll be betting on. Listen to the early wedge. The podcast feed, Apple, Spotify. It's a really good show this week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, John. Thank you, Martin Green. And of course, thank you, Ben, on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. And I believe most people were saying Ben, or at least some people were saying Ben was going to win the Survivor contest among us. I'll have to go back and read the comments. It's not a bad take. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. For now, we rest our case.